สวัสดีครับขอบคุณที่มาดูรายงานของเรานะครับแล้วผมหวังว่าคุณติดใจและก็ชอบนะครับถ้าเกิดต้องการข้อมูลใดๆอีกนะครับก็ช่วยติดต่อที่เว็บไซต์นะครับหรือไม่ก็ Twitter เราก็ได้ครับผมสุดนี้ก็ขอให้มาร่วมกับกลุ่มเราด้วยนะครับแล้วก็ช่วยเขียนฟีดแบ็กให้เราด้วยนะครับขอบคุณครับ
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this session of Global GEG. Today, we have Chris Bradley with us to show us how to cut, copy, and mix audio. Our dear Chris, it's an expert on 20 plus years in broadcasting. He is a teacher now, so he's going to teach us some stuff about audio editing. Take it away, Chris.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for having me today. I understand we have one or two people in the channel that are watching, so I appreciate those one or two people for showing up. One of them is probably my wife, and the other one's the two accounts that I set up on my own. Anyway, as she mentioned, I have 20 plus years in the broadcast industry. I actually have a Bachelor of Art degree in communication, mass communication. I spent 20 plus years over about 7 stations in 3 states. I've worked in top 40 radio, which is your teenage radio, your current modern pop stuff, country, both classic and modern. I've worked in rock and roll, classic and light. I even did a little bit of news talk and news, weather. I was on my last 2 stations, and I promise we'll get into the audio editing. My last 2 stations, I was actually on the news. Yeah, I got the glasses going on. I actually have the well, we have to have a team grid view glasses person, and that's going to be me. I appointed myself. I actually was on the weather team for the last 2 stations I worked at. So if any kind of severe weather rolled through, it was me that one of the people. And at the last station, it was just me. But yeah, go team grid view. I've even done a little bit of sports play-by-play or color commentating. Baseball was always my thing. I played baseball in school more than anything else. So I worked in the industry from 1998 to 2018, roughly. I've dusted off my microphone a few times for some special events, things like that. But production has always been my forte. I've done sales, marketing. I've done everything in radio besides management. And audio production has always been my thing, making that sound crisp, making people sound the way they want to sound so that they sound polished and professional without a breath. And that's something I want to show you today so that you can use that, take this knowledge and use it in your classrooms with your podcasting, your videos and things like that. I think you'll enjoy it, and I appreciate you showing up. So with all of that being said, since about age 7, I'm not trying to copy. I am the original. I've had these glasses for a while, and they're prescription too. So they're since I was about 7 years old, I've had this aspiration of being a classroom teacher, right in there between the idea of wanting to be an astronaut or a fireman. I couldn't make up my mind, so I decided to become a classroom teacher. Actually, yes, I do from time to time, or I have in the past. I'd use podcasting, which is something we're going to talk about in the next slide. So if you'll change the slide for me. All right, so let's talk about some common uses. I've told you about me, enough about that. It's not about me, it's about you, about your students. So let me tell you a few things about how I think we could incorporate and integrate audio into your classroom. We've been watching a lot of videos here on Global GEG about, talking about, we've been using Flipgrid and things like this to get video out there for distance learning and to bring it more student-centric instead of teacher-centric and totally flip the classroom. Well, as an educator, we are content experts, right? And so what we want to do is we want to sound like we're an expert. And so we don't want pregnant pauses or pa and ta and I'm out of breath and I can't. We don't want that in our presentation. And so some people may not know how to take that out. And that's what I want to show you today. as well as some ways we can integrate it into distance learning and use it in our classroom. One of the most common and kind of the hot, trendy thing right now is podcasting, which I can put that on steroids, really easy for you. I have this idea. We've all been there, even me as an educator. I've only been in education I'm coming into my second year, but we've all been there. You wake up, it's 6 in the morning, the alarm goes off. Okay, rewind. It's 5 o'clock when the alarm goes off. You have a sore throat. You know there is no way you're going to be able to go and do 7 or 8 prep periods and stand there and pontificate for 7 or 8 hours, right? So you call in. And so we've all got this emergency binder for our subbed, right? If you don't, you should. Anyway, one thing I used to use in my classroom my first year is if I had to be gone, especially if I knew I was going to be gone, I love to use PowerPoint, and now I love to use slides. One thing I would like to do was narrate my slides, throw in some, oh yeah, Audacity is the bomb. We're going to talk about that here in a moment too. I used to like to narrate my slides so that when my sub came in, I could have the presentation in the right folder. All the sub had to do is come in, turn on the PowerPoint, go to present mode, and hit go. I had all the audio there about the science. I taught physical science and chemistry last year for high school, general middle school science for 7th and 8th grade. And so you could just jump into my class. You could be at my class and I'd be gone and you get a PowerPoint and have my voice magically to it. So that's one way we can integrate it in distance learning is by simply having it. If you can think of a way to use it, it's almost like that baseball movie analogy, Field of Dreams. If you build it, if you build it, they will come. If you can invent a way, if you can think of a way of how you can use audio, you can use audio. And I'm going to show you how to edit it. A couple of major platforms that I like to use: Adobe Audition, which I got some dollar signs there for you. That means, hey, Adobe Audition is actually a paid program. If you're lucky enough to have a district that has an Adobe account, you don't have to pay for it. But if not, there is an educator program out there through Adobe where you can pay $19.99 a month, I think it is, certainly less than $20 a month. And you get access to most everything Adobe has. I don't think Spark is in it, but most everything, plus you get some stock photos. As an educator, you know, it's called their Master Suite. And with that comes Adobe Audition. The audio that I'm going to be working with today, I'm going to be doing it in Adobe because that's what I have on my computer. But there's also Audacity, which is a free program. That's right. Thank you very much, Robin. There's also Audacity, which is a free program. It's called, I guess, like a freeware. Now, there is an option there to donate. You don't have to, but there is a donate option if you'd like to. Okay. You could donate to that, but it is free. And a lot of school districts are using it for their podcasts and things because it's free. And it has so many plugins. What in the Google world, we would call them add-ons. In the audio world, it's called a plugin. Now let's talk about hosting and publishing. Now I know that Global GEG uses Anchor, and we post our podcast, which is basically a rebroadcast of an audio broadcast of our YouTube videos. I'll probably wind up on there sometime or another. And that's one avenue for publishing. I like to use SoundCloud. By the way, the slide deck for this will be made available to you through GEG, Global GEG, and that SoundCloud link there. You can click on it and it'll take you to the SoundCloud deck of audio that I'll be talking about today, some things that'll be on there. So we're going to talk a little bit about SoundCloud. We're going to talk a little bit, maybe here in a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about audio. We're going to talk about hosting, and let's move to the next slide. Well, the radio voice comes from practice. Some people are born with it. Some people practice. I don't really think I have one. So you made your presentation, you made your podcast, or you narrated your slide, and you listen to it. Go, oops, I made a mistake. Next slide, please. So I did this commercial a long time back. I'm going to go over here and switch my. I'm going to take the screen for a second here, and and jump in and let me know if you're seeing this this SoundCloud. Are you guys seeing this SoundCloud screen? I guess you are. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to play this for you.
The holidays are great, but sometimes the best part of the season is having a few days to rest and relax in the middle of it all. Snowball and Bandit would agree. So drop your fuzzy friends off at Reniger's Tail Wagging Inn for some old-fashioned R&R. They enjoy deluxe, climate-controlled accommodations and special treats as much.
Did you guys catch that? I caught it. There's a big fat belch in the middle. We'll go back to the slide deck. There's a big fat belch in the middle of that. That thing actually, it was an actual commercial that I produced when I was in radio for a local veterinarian who has a place where you can take kennel your dogs. That was me. And what you see on screen in front of you, exactly. And so what happened is, I accidentally did that. I was enjoying a Coca-Cola, nice crisp cold Coca-Cola, refreshing Coca-Cola in the middle of it, right? And I had that, and it happened, and I didn't catch it in post-production. So it aired on 6 stations for about a month. And the owner of this place was getting phone call on top of phone call on top of phone call. And so then he called the radio station, and I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. Oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. He loved it. He said, yeah, it was a mistake, but people were calling because it was unique and it caught their attention. And maybe it was even the result of a couple of fender benders here and there, people that shocked by it, just kidding. So let me show you here in a moment when I take the screen back here, and I'll tell you when that'll be. Here on the screen, you see the waveform for that commercial. In the white shaded area, or the grayish white shaded area that I've got highlighted there, that's where the belch is in there. Yeah, thank you. Someone's pointing to it. That's actually the belch in that file. And if I'd been paying attention, yeah, it's pretty funny, I would have caught that. And so this is something that when we're using this in our class, in our classrooms, in our education environment, we all make mistakes. We tell our students that failure or fail just means first attempt in learning, right? Well, we as educators, content experts, we fail from time to time, especially if it's a really tough and difficult subject. We fail. I know for science, I did all the math ahead of time so that because I am not a mathy person. I am not a math nerd. I am barely a science nerd. But anyway, I do all of that stuff ahead of time so that I don't have to do the calculations in front of my kids because I don't want to fail in front of them. And so when you put out audio, you don't want to fail in front of your students. I know you don't, I don't. And it just takes the attention away from the content and puts it on your mistake, right? And I know you're with me. You're all shaking your head. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't hack your camera, but I know you're shaking your head. Yes. We'll move to the next slide, please. All right, now please share my screen at this time. I'll show you some cool stuff. Here we go. Let me show you a few things here. This is Adobe Audition, and I know that you all, hopefully you all were in on the big smackdown that we did not too long ago. Let me show you some cool stuff here. You guys get to see my file structure now, my hierarchy. That's great. All right. You're like, hey, why is it in there? But anyway, there we go.
Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
Jessica would like to ask you something. Do you have kids do vocal warm-up exercise to get them to enunciate clearly?
Do what now?
I am pop the question. Do you have to vocal warm-up exercise to get them to enunciate clearly? Oh,
to get them to enunciate clearly. Yeah, there can be. let me pull this up real quick because I'm a one-track mind kind of guy, and then I'll go over that with you. Let's just do this. We'll just highlight all of these. We'll hit open and bring all of these up. One of the things through the years in broadcasting I did as a vocal exercise, because I'm not classically trained in voice or anything, although I did take a voice and diction class in college that wasn't required, which helped me a lot to get rid of my Texas accent and get that Midwestern sound that I've got. One thing I used to do is like a little regimen of test, 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 or come up with some sort of rhyme or something that so that if there's a word or a phrase that you have trouble saying, work it into that, like test, test, Mickey Mouse, test, check, check, Mike, check, Mickey, Minnie, and just warm up that way for a good 15 minutes or so off and on before you get started. All right, so I brought up my Adobe screen here. This is some of the stuff. If you watch the SmackDown, you actually got to listen to some of this stuff. So here's the background from that. When I did the boot camp promo not too long ago.
In a world where more than ever students are being forced to study from home and teachers around the world are scrambling to innovate and collaborate from the confines of their homes, there stands alone a global team of quiet professionals poised to open the doors to technology, innovation, and collaboration for the masses. This ragtag band of capeless superheroes presents Global GEG Level 2 Boot Camp.
So that was the actual mixed down file. I'm going to show you the voiceover. Now, one thing I would suggest to you, and again, this is a suggestion. If you see here on the screen, I have bootcamp VO _raw. One thing I learned in broadcasting all these years is, okay, you're calling it bootcamp. Okay, that's what it is. VO standing for voiceover. I always put that in capitals so it stands out to me. _raw, meaning I haven't edited it. I haven't done anything to it. I laid the track down, recorded it right into the screen, and I walked away. I always save how they say, carpenters will say, measure twice, cut once, and that kind of thing. So I always keep a copy of every version, just like like our Google programs, how we have the version history. You can go back and look at the different versions. This is my way of doing that in audio, is save everything as VO raw, or background BG is what I use for background, BG raw, with an underscore in between. Now, come up with your own system. I'm not telling you how to do it. And I left this heat map on here for all of those of you who might be using psychedelic drugs right now. I wanted you to have a good time as well. So here we go. Let's put some of this together. So let's go over to our we're going to remix this. So let's put this voice track here, or this file here. Let's go over, right click, and we'll go to insert into new multi-track session. We can call it whatever. For the sake of time, I'm just going to leave it. Okay, that puts it in this session for us. Now, when you see these sessions like this is the multi-track session. This is where you get to do your mix down. We're going to repeat that process, lather, rinse, repeat. We're going to bring up this. Wait a minute, we don't want to do that. See, I almost made a mistake. We all make mistakes. We want to go into, so at this point, we can just drag it over here. Okay, now you see that this file, I can move these around. What I like to do is put a little bit of a trail in the beginning and a little bit of buffer at the end. You can come up here to the top, move it over, and grab the end of this, stretch it back. You see how it snaps to the time there? It'll snap to the nearest second or 1/10 of a second for you. And now you can make that there. You can also, when you're in, let's move back to waveform mode. You can also use your mouse wheel if you have one. Just throw in and out and compress or expand so that you can go in there and find that nuisance of a sound. If in my case, it would have been the belch. But a few things to look for. Well, I'll switch back over to multi-track, and if I'm going too fast, I apologize. One thing to look for, or three things really. In fact, I posted this when I first tweeted about this. There's a thing called a pregnant pause. I just did one. Pregnant, pause. Academics, we love it because we have a thought, we start to talk, and our brain starts to try to articulate, and we pause. This is one of those instances where you can go in and cut that out. So let me show you here. We just remixed this. We remixed our boot camp.
In a world where more than ever,
Okay, so you'll see here,
students
these are called VU meters,
forced to study from home,
meaning that's telling you what this is. If you
and
get this up in
teachers
the red
around the
here,
world
if that starts to move up in the red, then you're clipping, and it's going to be hot, and it's going to sound distorted. So let me show you something here. We'll go back to our boot camp raw. We will pretend like there's a problem right here. Well, maybe there is. Let's hear this. It's BG raw. Let's move to our voiceover raw.
in a world where more than ever,
We'll go back to this one. Let's see. If we wanted to, because there is a big space there, we could go in and we could cut that out. To do that, use your normal shortcut keys that you would use, such as Control X to cut, Control C to copy, Control V to paste, or you can reach up here and hit your delete key, and it'll ask you, hey, you want to do this? And the reason it's asking this right now is I've already laid that down in a multi-track session. And so what that's going to do is mess that multi-track session up. To avoid this little problem, what you do, you switch back over here to your multi-track and just pull this out. Okay, and then if I go back and do this, it won't even ask me, it'll just do it. Okay. One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was, okay, we talked about pregnant pauses, how you can go in and cut those out. You see where there's no audio. When you do this long enough, you really get used to reading these waveforms as if they were sheets of music or even English. It got to where after 20 years, I could pull up someone else's audio, not listen to it, and I could find the breath that because you naturally take a breath. When you're talking, you probably heard me, you take a quick breath. Well, broadcasters are trained to do it very shallow, very often, and very hard to hear. But what we do is we go back in later in these kinds of programs and these kinds of settings, and we go in and we cut those out and compress that back down so that you don't, and it sounds like we're not taking a breath. We're not superhuman. We know how to cut out our breath. So breath sounds, your pregnant pauses, those get cut out. Another thing to be watchful and mindful of is the T and the P. Okay? T and P. You notice that little hint of breath at the end? Well, when you start playing with manipulating this through filters, which will be another session, more of an advanced feature, those become magnified. They become crazy off the hook, stand out like a sore thumb. And so you've got to watch the T and the T and the P, the pregnant pause, and you have to watch for that breath sound. Now, once you're done and you get everything mixed up, that's when you just simply come back in here. You put your file back in. We stretch it back down. And I know I'm running close on my 30 minutes, guys. I'll get back to it here. Get back on track here in a second. All right. So maneuver it around a little bit. You can hit your home key on your keyboard. That puts you back to the beginning. Did you see how that snapped? Let me show you again here. You just click over here, back to your multi-view. See this marker here? It's called a track marker, okay, or a ticker. I'd like to call it a ticker. You hit your home, double tap your home key on your keyboard, a little shortcut for you there, and boom, you're back to the beginning.
in a world where more than ever,
If this bottom track is a little hot, you can come over here and dial it back or dial it up if you want it to go up. There's also another way of doing it. Just like our Google programs, there's like 6 ways to do everything. Well, the easy way is right here. You can dial it back, or look at this. You can just click right in here and just make the adjustment by typing over in your num key or at the top row of numbers, type in what you want, play with it a little bit, and then listen to it. So let's do, oh, that'll be crazy off the hook right there. Let's do 50. And then let's double tap our home key.
in a world where
See how loud that background got? That's how that works. Now let's put that back to 0, because that's just crazy insane. That would never pass post-production. And let's say we're done, okay? Let's just pretend for name, you know, for the sake of being pretending that we're done. So let's go to our track here and mix down. So mix down session to new file, entire screen. And now, boom, we have the entire thing mixed down again.
In a world where more than ever,
Then you simply come over here, file, save, just like you would any other file, and you put whatever you want to here. You can use the select, you can choose a location right here. You choose your format. I always recommend MP3. It's going to give you an error about waveless audio, but MP3 is a more compacted file. And I know hard drives are getting bigger and bigger and more efficient these days, but why waste that space if you don't have to? So move it to that, and we're done. Now I'll close out of that. Get back to, no, I don't want to change anything because I've already done that. If I could get my slide deck back. No, wait, don't give me the slide deck back. Let's talk about SoundCloud first, okay? So let's go to soundcloud.com. We were talking about hosting. Once you get your stuff ready, here's the easiest way to do it. You go in, you set up an account. I'm going to log out. I'm going to log out. I guess when I'm not finding the log out right away. What I'm trying to show you is you can set one up. You can use your Facebook login or your Google login, and it'll pull your information in for you, so you don't have to sit and pound out on the keyboard all the stuff about who you are and things like that. Now, when you go here, you see upload. All right, so let's just go to upload. Click out of this, because I don't. By the way, SoundCloud can be paid for, or it can be free. I use the free version. You know, I think it's $7 or $8 a month for the paid. There's some extra features, but for what we're doing for education, you really don't need it. And I spent all those years in broadcasting and I never paid a dime for SoundCloud. So let's go over here to our audio that we worked on. So let's just say we want to upload we just want to look and filter, okay? But here we go, Bootcamp Promo, the MP3. That's the other reason I mentioned using MP3, not only because of its compact size, but when you look at the icons, WAV, MP3, makes it easier to find your file, especially if you're like me and you mix all your files up in one folder like a dummy. Okay, now here we get into the basic information. You can put your title in. You can pick a genre if you wish. We've got quite a bit here. You can put a logo in there with it if you like. You can put some additional hashtags in there to tag your audio, just like Instagram and just like Twitter. You can go in if you wanted to. We could put in hashtag global GEG. And if someone went on to SoundCloud up here in the search bar and put in global GEG or hashtag global GEG, this would pull up in their search results. So that makes it really great. And then you can say, okay, it's public or it's private. We're going to go ahead and take that tag out for now because branding and all, I don't know that I have permission to do that. And boom, we'll hit save. It uploads. And now, as it uploads, we get this link here that we can share. Or you can come straight up here and share it automatically on those. And this is a public link, unless you tell it to be private, and then you have to send out a link on your own. You could have put a pic here, some sort of graphic to indicate, hey, you know, a branding issue. And that is how you use SoundCloud. Then you go back to it. You click when you log in. I want to look at what I posted. So hit your profile, and there it is.
in a world where more than ever students are being forced to study from home and teach.
Guys, I'm about to go over on my time. Is it okay if I just keep going? I'm guessing it is. Okay.
Okay, Robin is asking, what kind of mic do you use?
I prefer, right now I'm just using a cheap gaming headset. By the way, you can give me back my slide deck now. We're done with this part.
Okay. And then you have a lot of congratulations, amazing job. Your radio voice is amazing. Amazing.
Well, in terms of the microphone, one of the things I like now, it's an expensive microphone, but all those years in broadcasting, I used what's called an Electro, but drop the O and add an A, Voice 320. Now they're about $300, $300 to $400, but they are some of the best microphones on the market, and they actually have some switches and dials and knobs on them that you can adjust to add effect to your voice. And maybe if everyone's interested, we'll do a session on advanced tools in the future where we talk about compressing and adding bells and whistles to your voice other than just your simple edits. I'd love to do that if there's an interest for that. I got this slide here. I want to remind everybody, you're on the YouTube, you're watching our Global GEG YouTube channel. So please hit that notification bell so that you know when things are coming up. Thumb up on this video and all Global GEG videos. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Mash it down right now so you get all the information as it comes. Makes it easier to find. Go ahead and change that slide for me, please.
Chris, another question from Lisa. Do you usually use a script or do you wing it?
I try to use a script. I'll be honest with you. The boot camp one, I didn't use a script. I sat down for just a few minutes and thought about what I wanted to say, said it out loud to myself, said, yeah, that works, that doesn't work. And then I just sat down and did it. I advise to use a script. Always use a script. I advise a script, especially for an education environment, because using a script keeps you on. And if I'd been using a script today, I would not have ran over 2 minutes of my time. And I apologize. I'd only told them 30 minutes. But so I promised everybody a mic drop in this thing. So go ahead and click that button for me. We dropped that mic. Go ahead and click it again, please. All right, that's going to conclude my presentation. You've got my details down here in the bottom left corner of your screen. How you can get a hold of me through email, through Twitter, social media. I want to say go Team Grid View, no Team List View. And again, the slide deck will be pushed out to you if it hasn't already been pushed out. And man, I thank everybody, those 2 or 3 people who showed up. I thank you so much. You've made my day by showing up to my presentation. So if there's any questions that need to be answered, I can do those, or I can let everybody go. It's up to you.
Thank you, Chris. No, I think you've been answering all people's questions very well. Everybody said that it was a great introduction to basic information regarding audio editing. There was Stephanie Howell who said that if you could please do a podcast for Global GEG. And I said I vote for that too. You're doing an excellent job. I think that you probably could produce another session on this, something a little bit more in depth and maybe longer. You did a great job. Thank you so much for presenting this session. Thanks everybody for showing up.
One more thing. Don't forget to go down to the run at the bottom of the screen right now. Get that bit.ly GEG global feedback form. Get your PD credit. As educators, we know that's important. So get that PD credit. Don't forget to do that. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for presenting this wonderful session. Everybody, please, could you don't forget to send feedback for this session and all the sessions with the same form. And come again for the next sessions that we have for the rest of the week. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to today's Global GEG presentation. Make sure you go to our website at globalgeg.org to find more information and ways to connect with us. One way you can connect with us is going to the website.
I don't know what happened there.